Well, Saturday, October 7th. It's noon Eastern time. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. It's time for our weekly Ask Me Anything session. I see there are already questions, so you're asking. I'll get to answering. We do this every week here at this time. Appreciate you coming. Before we get to all the questions and all the goodies and stuff, FootballDiehards.com is the website. We appreciate you joining us here, as always, on Saturdays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for the On the Hot Seat. Stacey Perez was on earlier this week. That is available for replay if you want to give that a watch. Still plenty of relevant information there for you. We do that every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Hit the subscribe button and then a notification bell. Hit those things. We appreciate it if you would. Appreciate your time, attention. You have a lot of choices. You also have a lot of questions according to this. Also, we have news. News breaking right as we start the program. Jonathan Taylor is added to the active roster. I'm seeing people are saying he was listed as questionable yesterday. I'm guessing that's because he was not yet activated. He has no injury designation, according to the NFL insiders out there, like Ian Rappaport and whatnot, suggesting that he's set to go. So, oh yeah, they did. They have updated it. The Colts have now officially updated their injury report. So Taylor has no injury designation. So seems like reasonable to believe he's going to play. Hi, Mr. Scampers. Hi, Royal Slade. Hello, Steve. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Mark. Hello, Andrea. Ed. Hello, Brian Larkin, John Fusak, Kevin O'Brien. There are a lot of you in here. Ron, Mark, Golf Boy in here. Oh, yeah. There's more questions than there are people at the moment. So please continue joining in with your questions. I'll try to get through all of them as quickly as possible. As I mentioned, we can go through this a little bit, and I'm sure I'll get questions about it. But Jonathan Taylor back. It's not the best matchup for him to return. Ideally, he would not be playing the Tennessee Titans, the best run defense in the NFL, on his first game back. But we'll see. Maybe Anthony Richardson changes the dynamic, makes it a little harder to defend. Maybe my yard guys will come right in the house and make it even harder for me to talk. I don't know. All these things are possible. And we'll figure it all out here as we go through the next hour of goodness. So, in top of the Jonathan Taylor news, of course, Cooper Kupp set to return this week for the Los Angeles Rams. I love this matchup for the passing attack. I like Matthew Stafford an awful lot. Cooper Kupp only adds to the fun. I would expect him to play. Scampers, Dame, I didn't see you in their name. But if you guys are hearing anything, I'm hearing lots of rumors from the people who dabble in the black art of gambling that this is still worse than they're letting on. And I don't see any sign of it outwardly. So let me know if your people in Los Angeles are hearing any rumors out there that might be of interest to us. Otherwise, Amon-Ra St. Brown listed as doubtful. Seems unlikely to play. Maybe we'll get a little resolution on that today. It's possible, but probably not. They always say that and then don't do it. We've got Saquon Barkley seems likely to return, although he's been limited all week. Devontae Adams should be good to go. Devontae Williams, have done a couple articles on him. There's Jaleel McLaughlin, kind of lurking in the backs of our minds after a big week last week. Sounds like he'll have a bigger role regardless. But also, the Broncos play the Chiefs on Thursday night, so it'll be a quick turnaround for them. So maybe that'll be a factor. Kenny Pickett's ready to play. T. Higgins still questionable. So a lot going on this week, and I see a lot of you have questions, so I won't dwell on the news too much. If you want news, go to FootballDiehards.com. I have written hundreds of articles already this week, literally. So go ahead and check that out, everything you want to know up to the last minute. We do that all in real time, so that'll continue up through tomorrow's, each round of kickoffs tomorrow. I'll have all the inactives and everything. You can also hear me on the radio if you don't get your question today. You can get tonight. We have 3 hours on NFL radio and the Fantasy Channel simulcast. Drew Davenport will be joining us. We'll be covering game. What is our game of the week? Is it Dallas? It's Dallas, San Francisco. That's an exciting game. So we'll be have a couple correspondents from that game, and we'll do all our usual stuff. I'll do the pregame show tomorrow from 11 to 1 with Jeff Manns. So we'll have more information for you there. Current information. So what's the goal here today is I go through your questions. My goal is I'll answer your questions. I realize you want specific answers, but mostly I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm trying to tell you what I would do, how I arrive at those decisions. If you don't arrive at the same decision based on the same information, that's okay, right? Like, play your hunches if you have them over my hunches. I probably have them too, but I don't have to answer to you on Monday. You have to answer to you on Monday. So listen to the information, take it in, process it, apply it the way you like to apply it, and we'll see where we end up, hopefully with big wins for everyone. So let's get into it. See if I miss up Jim. Hi, Jim. Let's see if anything's happening out here that I need to catch up on before I get to the questions back at the top of the chat. They are copious, so I'll get going. Mike Arts is in the house. has a full PPR, 2 different leagues, Dubs or Pickens, Dubs or Tank Dell, Javonte if healthy, or Miles Sanders. Well, you're going to have to make that decision earlier in the day if we don't get some resolution. So the talk was in Denver or amongst Denver media that the decision would be arrived at last night, right? That they would decide. They may not tell us, and they certainly haven't up to this point. But it sounds like they're planning for a bigger workload for Jaleel McLaughlin, no matter what. He's turned out to be quite an explosive threat. The diminutive undrafted rookie. Just want to double check that schedule. That was the reporting I was heard. Yeah, it's the Chiefs on 10-12, so that is next Thursday. So they have a short turnaround, so that may be part of it. But your problem there, Mike, is that you have an early kickoff for the Panthers in Detroit, and you have a late afternoon kickoff in Denver. Boy, narrative streak game in that Denver. Nathaniel Hackett turning after Sean Payton kind of trashed him, and then Sean Payton coming up short. Breece Hall supposedly going to be unleashed in this game against the Denver defense that has not stopped a damn thing. Also, this was the place and location of the torn ACL that Breece Hall suffered last year in Week 7. So a lot of narratives playing out here. Dubs or Pickens, Dubs or Tank Dell. I'm probably leaning towards Dubs in both of these. Pickens is a fine play, right? So Pickens over Dubs and Dubs over Dell. There you have it. And it's pretty close on Dubs and Dell. I think Dubs is more of the high floor play, right? So like if you want to shoot for the higher end, it would be Dell and it would be Pickens and Dell in both those cases. Also in Dynasty, thinking of trading after this week, 2 and a first rounder for next year to last place team that needs a quarterback and rebuilding for HAN. My team is 3-1, needs running backs. That doesn't seem unreasonable. I don't know who your other quarterback. Oh, there you go. Your other quarterbacks are Herbert. Yeah, I'm not a big Bryce Young fan to date. I know it's a work in progress. You wonder if Carolina would make the same choice, given the same choice based on what they've seen from CJ Stroud, but probably so. They seem to really like him. So yeah, I think that's okay, right? Like you've got Herbert. It's a 1 quarterback league. I don't think you're ever going to be playing both those guys. So sure, I could do that. Jim Glucker. Bob, thanks for your help every week. You're the best. Thank you. You're the best for coming every week. I really appreciate this. Can't tell you how helpful this is for me. Like I'm sitting here grinding out news, pumping out information. Every chance I get to stop and discuss for an hour here or on Wednesdays or a couple hours, 3 hours on Thursday and Monday and Thursday on the radio show, 2 hours on Friday. All these times, it helps me coalesce my thoughts and unveil my strategy. So a lot of this, as I'm sorting through your questions, I'm doing in real time for the first time. And maybe there are decisions I still have to make in my lineups, and it's very helpful for me too. Flex position, standard league, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, or Dubs. So Stevenson would be my default. He is listed as questionable. I think that's an early afternoon kickoff, if I'm not mistaken. It is. So you'll know there, but it's New Orleans, not a great matchup. Najee Harris going up against Baltimore, not my favorite matchup. Dubs against Las Vegas is a great matchup. There was a lot of talk that Dubs would be the wide receiver 1 here, just in terms of workload going into the season, with Christian Watson maybe being more, the big play threat. And I think we saw that last week. But do we see that continue going forward as Christian Watson works his way back in? We're waiting for the injury reports, by the way, for the Monday night game. It's possible Watson will be questionable. I expect both him and Jones to play. I'm probably going to lean Stevenson here if he's healthy. And I'm going to say that knowing that it has not been great, right? It also has not been great for Harris. Last week was a little bit of an outlier to me. In terms of, he was a little more productive, right, than he had been. I think he got like 5 yards a carry. I don't know if that's what I'd expect for the norm. I'm probably going to go in this order: Stevenson, Harris, and Dubs. But if you wanted feel like there's a high floor, you favor that matchup. It's close enough for all three that if you felt like Dubs was the right answer, go ahead. I'm going Stevenson, Harris, Dubs. Hi, Kevin O'Brien. Happy week 5 to you as well. Full PPR, best flex this week, Mixon at Arizona or Garrett Wilson at Denver. So obviously Denver's defense has not been good. There's one piece that's like reasonable, and that's Pat Surtain. That's probably who you're going to see on Garrett Wilson awful lot. Look, I think if you needed to play Zach Wilson this week, everyone against Denver, right? That's kind of where we're at in terms of matchups. I think that's normally the case. I could probably play Mixon at Arizona in this one. See if the algorithm agrees with me. I think it does. Of course it does. Easily. Not even close. Interesting. Yeah, the Cardinals pretty nice matchup for the run. They haven't been passing the ball well. I think I could go with that. That's probably the direction I'm going to go. Kevin O'Brien again. Which Green Bay wide receiver do you like best at Las Vegas this week? I probably like Dobbs better than Watson. Again, for the reason I outlined. I think he looks like more of the volume play. If you need more of a swing for the fence play, it's Watson. I think any game he might come up really huge. And we'll kind of see how this normalizes over time because we were just getting Watson back. Is he up to full speed? Is the hamstring still a bit of an issue for him? All those things are possible, right? So I don't want to like if the notion was Dobbs was going to be the kind of like higher volume play all along. I don't think Watson's being slow rolled back is that big of a difference. But in case it is, I'm probably liking Dobbs a little more. When I play Kyron Williams versus Philadelphia over any of these three, Miami studs and full flex. A-Chain Mostert. I think A-Chan is the one that's like the closest in this conversation. I think I would probably play A-Chan over. It would probably be A-Chan would be the one I would play over him. Look, we're playing a pretty narrow band, of information here. It's been a couple games, but the trend is, and it's like by a narrow margin. So the trend is the touches have been increasing weekly, obviously, for A-Chan, and he's been delivering accordingly. I worry that there's going to be a course correction week, that super high-end production at some point is going to, find a capper there. I don't know that it does against the Giants, though. That's maybe not the game I expect that to happen. So I'm playing A-Chan first. It would probably be Williams after that, and then Mostert, then Waddle. Golf Boy, number 2 today. Number 2 what? Mark Spafford. Hi. Is Michael Gallup the wide receiver 2 in Dallas and a sneaky start against 49ers, which funnels offense towards the pass? I don't know if I think it's a pretty close, I think there's a gaggle, of 2, essentially. And 3, if you want to include Jake Ferguson drawing targets in there for the Cowboys. I think that's, it's CeeDee Lamb in the field, I guess would be the best way to put that, right? What did we see last week? We saw, Pollard targets, Ferguson 7 targets, Gallup 6 targets, Tolbert 4 targets, CeeDee Lamb 6 targets, Brandon Cooks 4 targets. I think that's basically what it is. It's Lamb in the field, and Jake Ferguson should not be overlooked in this offense just in terms of volume. So yes, and it is, it is passing tends to be the way they go. I wonder if that's been as much game script as anything. Maybe this is a closer game, and the Cowboys will continue to force Tony Pollard, who they've been using heavily, right? But yeah, I think Gallup, you could put him in the conversation as, the next tier of receiver, and from week to week easily could end up being the wide receiver too. With Amon-Ra St. Brown out in Detroit, do you like Josh Reynolds or Khalif Raymond as a replacement, full PPR flex, over Jaleel McLaughlin versus Jets? I'd probably play McLaughlin in this one. I do like Josh Reynolds, and he's had big games. I prefer Reynolds over Khalif Raymond, but you're kind of playing whack-a-mole there. I think, with Raymond anyway, he shows up, but it's hard to determine when. Early in the season, Josh Reynolds' role was pretty even, and I'm guessing he would become kind of I don't want to say the de facto lead receiver, but I think that'll remain Sam Laporta. But of the wideouts, expecting Josh Reynolds to be the primary piece. Remember, though, he's listed as questionable as well. So I'm probably playing McLaughlin. I think it sounds like his role is going to be increased whether there's a Javonte Williams or not, right? And that makes sense. And I'm starting to feel like maybe there won't be a Javonte Williams. In case you missed it at the top, the discussion in Denver has been that they were going to meet on Friday night and determine what they're going to do with Williams. So maybe they already know and we don't. That's something you'll want to watch for the rest of the day. Certainly heading into tomorrow's kickoff, if you've been to the FootballDiehards.com website, which I'm sure many of you have. If you haven't, go. Also, hit the like button and the notification bell. Subscribe to this channel. Damn it. I'm Bob Harris. I endorse that message. Anyway, we usually do leading up to overnight on Saturdays and into Sunday morning. We'll have all the latest of the insider information. They usually put out reports of players who are expected or not expected to play that are on the questionable list. So I'm sure I'll have more on Williams there, and I'll also have more during the pregame show. But it is a late afternoon kickoff, so you won't have the official word until late. So be mindful of that. But I would probably lean to McLaughlin either way. Hi, Steve Lindor. All is relatively well. Ask the art guys. They will tell you. PPR league. I need one running back and one flex. Here are my choices: Najee Harris versus Ravens, Gainwell versus Rams, Jameson Williams versus Panthers, Bourne versus Saints, Shaheed versus New Orleans. I'm probably going volume here, Steve. I realize it hasn't been great. But I'd probably go Najee Harris. Gainwell versus Rams. He's kind of playing the secondary role to Swift. It hasn't been bereft of touches. The opportunities are starting to come for him. Jameson Williams, I'd like to give that a week before I see what they plan to do. I did think Amon-Ra St. Brown's comments were interesting on this, that, if you don't run a 4-2, you better start backing up, right? But I also heard Jameson Williams was putting the ball on the ground an awful lot. Supposedly he worked really hard, caught 100 balls today off the jugs machine in his house while he was suspended. And still, Kyle Meinke from MLive.com was reporting all week that he was putting balls on the ground, not catching everything thrown his way. That's a bit of a concern. I need to see a little more from him. Bourne has kind of been a one-week wonder in this offense, so and that was against the Eagles, who, by the way, one of the reasons why I love the Rams this week, the Rams passing attack, is Philadelphia's pass defense hasn't been great, and it started with that huge game from Kendrick Bourne. And Shaheed is a little bit hit or miss too. I mean, so I'm playing the volume here. Pretty easy call for me. Steve, if you need a swing for the fence play, though, it's probably not Najee. Kevin O'Brien, with Derek Carr struggles, would you still play Olave at New England over either Green Bay wide receiver Dubs or Watson at Las Vegas? Love their matchups. I do love the Olave matchup. We think of Olave as a super tough defense, or the Patriots super tough defense, and it is. But also, they are decimated in the secondary, right? They're bringing in pieces, and so multiple injuries in that secondary. Also, Matthew Judon, their top pass rusher, is out. So there's, but I don't know that helps Derek Carr's shoulder. I mean, he needs to play a fair amount better. It was a bad week last week. I think that was a bit of an outlier. But I would have to consider Dubs and or Watson, given my uncertainty with the shoulder. If you feel better that Derek Carr is going to start putting the ball down the field, then go with that. Olave's the better player in a better matchup even, I think. Given the injury situations for the Patriots backfield. But the question for me is Carr's shoulder, and what we saw last week was not promising. Is he going to improve week over week? I'm guessing he will, right? That doesn't seem unreasonable. How much? I don't know. And it was, like the offense in general for New Orleans hasn't been fantastic. Olave's been okay at times, so I'll take that into account. But I might want to play Green Bay, either of those Green Bay wide receivers. And I've talked about, how I view them. Dubs is more of a volume play, and Watson is more of a big play threat. John Fusek, Tutu Atwell versus Philadelphia, or Ertz versus Cincinnati. I'll probably go ahead and take Ertz. Not that I don't still like Tutu Atwell, but I don't know how the dynamic changes with Cooper Kupp back. A couple things we don't know. Cooper Kupp's first week back. I mean, sounds like he's ready to go full speed, right? Sounds like there's no restrictions. I'm guessing there won't be. They, all the talk all along, and it makes sense, right? Think about this. They've slow rolled him in. If there was any question in their mind about him being able to go full speed, why would they play him at all? Right? Now, might he be winded on occasion, not able to run as many routes? That seems like not unreasonable too. But thinking he's not going to have a reasonable role, that seems like, on the lower end of the scale of, the less likely end of the range of possible outcomes to me. So I'm probably going to go Ertz, solid targets. I'll go ahead and take that. Take that chance, especially with the 1.5, given the uncertain shift in the workload in Los Angeles. Hi, Brian Larkin. Steve Lindor, PPR League. Is it safe to drop Kadarius Toney as my 7th wide receiver for Matt Breida? Yes. I would probably start McLaughlin over Cam Akers. It still seems like, like Madison has a pretty firm grip on the lead role here. I don't know that changes. My concern for both those backs, by the way, is just, the volume they're getting. I mean, if either of them diminishes the other, and like right now it would be Akers diminishing Madison, it's already not a super robust rushing attack, right? Because they pass the ball so much in Minnesota. And I suspect they'll be passing a lot against the Chiefs because their defense is not as good as the Jets. And I'm guessing the Chiefs will do a little better scoring. So probably would prefer McLaughlin. I just I think that the Broncos are looking to get their playmakers involved here. He seems like he's emerged as that, and this goes back to the summer. I may be too all in on McLaughlin, but I'm definitely, this one for me is an easy call. And it's okay to drop Tony for whatever you need. He's a churnable piece of your roster. I mean, I'm not enthusiastic for Matt Breida. Even if Barkley's out, I mean, other than just he fills that spot. He doesn't fill it with great production. The offense isn't great, so there's not a lot that I like there. But Tony is an unplayable piece at this point. Is Cortland Sutton the wide receiver that Sauce Gardner will match up on it? So would you play Josh Downs instead versus Tennessee? Tennessee's a great matchup. I've had a lot of Josh Downs questions. And yes, I do think that Sauce Gardner will be the guy that I think, mostly it'll be Sutton and Gardner, although I don't think it's like a shadow situation. But I feel like maybe playing Josh Downs is a little too, I think we're outsmarting ourselves. Sutton has still been a pretty good volume play. Let me look at some things, because I'm getting more questions about this, right? 3 targets last week. And what was a kind of a crappy first half of passing for Richardson, right? There was no doubt about it. Week before it was with Gardner Minshew, so I don't want to read too much into the 12 targets that week. But, I mean, that's what we're looking at, right? It was that 12-target game. That was with Gardner Minshew and not with Richardson. The week before with Richardson, what's happening? We have a contract agreement, $42 million new contract for Jonathan Taylor. So, breaking news again. It's my least favorite time for breaking news because I can't go write an update and inform the masses. I can only inform you. So, welcome for that. $42 million, $26.5 million guaranteed. He is now one of the highest paid running backs in the NFL and further cements his status as the starter tomorrow. Sorry, Zach Moss. So going back to week 2, what was it was 5 with Richardson and Minshew splitting the passing. It was more Minshew. I think you're outsmarting yourself there. I'm probably still playing Sutton in this one and hoping hoping the volume carries me in that one. I don't know that I'm going to get the volume. I get it. It's a great matchup, right? So I understand the question for sure. Monday night, Green Bay at Las Vegas. Kevin O'Brien asks, would you prefer Jacoby Myers over Doubs or Watson? Probably, it's been a pretty solid workload, and you've got Jimmy Garoppolo back. I might well do that. I might well go with Myers. I mean, I like both Doubs and Watson, but, until, I guess there's a level of uncertainty for me with what exactly Watson's role is as he comes back. I mean, are the reports we heard this summer going to come to pass to turn out to be correct, that Doubs is maybe the guy that'll be the volume play versus Watson? I mean, that's, I'm just going to tell you this. Turns out not everything we heard all summer turns out to be true, right? So he's just reading a piece by Jordan Ronan from ESPN yesterday about Darren Waller, and he reminded everyone that Waller every day in training camp was a shining star who stood out, made huge plays, dominated defensive backs, leapt over the heads of defenders to make plays, made huge plays on a daily basis, right? It's not to say that he wasn't doing that. It's just to say once we get into the season, things can change. So that's why a little bit of a question for me. My wrist is vibrating off because Jonathan Taylor signed a contract, so pardon my distraction. Steve Linder, PPR. So that's where I'm at. I mean, if you feel like, if you feel, Kevin, like you have a little more certainty there, I think Jacoby Myers' role has been pretty rock solid, when he is healthy and when Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy. PPR, Steve Linder needs to sit one of these wide receivers, Sutton, Doubs, or Zay Flowers. Thanks again, and hit those likes, peoples. I agree with that. In this case, I'd probably play Doubs and Flowers over Sutton. Hi, Royal Slade. Hi, Mr. Scampers. There you are, Dame. I'm still playing catch-up here, people. Gojira. Andrea needs one flex. Chris Olave versus New England. James Conner versus Cincinnati. Pacheco versus Minnesota. I kind of like Pacheco this week. I'm not going to lie. Do I like him more than James Conner? That's the question. I probably like Conner slightly more. I like Conner there, Andrea. What running back would you be looking to get in return for Lamar or A-Rich in a trade in a PPR? If it's a single quarterback league, I would be hoping to get a starting asset every week, a running back 2-level play. So, if your league has a weird scoring system or something, you can adjust as needed. But I think for me, Let me bring up the list of types of players I would be looking for. Oh, let's say a Isaiah Pacheco, a James Conner, Travis Etienne. That range, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe, all the way down to Dameon Pierce, maybe. Although I'm not a huge Pierce, but a solid running back too, a startable running back too every single week. In a one quarterback league, it's hard to trade quarterbacks, so we'll keep that in mind. Hi, Tommy Franey. Thank you for enjoying my show. Would I trade Reese Hall for Chris Olave or DJ Moore? Also, would you trade Nico Collins for David Montgomery? I would probably do the Collins for Montgomery. I probably want to keep Reese Hall. But if you need receivers, I'd do it for either of those receivers. DJ Moore is obviously coming on. That would be, one issue there. Chris Olave, there's still some question marks there. Maybe feel a little better with DJ Moore. Remember, he's coming off huge games. But the trend has been positive for him, dating back not just to this week's game, but last week's game and the week before. The numbers have been trending up for him. So I do like what I'm seeing there. It seems to be starting to coalesce a little bit what our hoped for, outcomes would be, with the Justin Fields being a better passer and part of that being DJ Moore. I think in a vacuum, like if you're just sitting there, Chris Olave, if this was like a long-term game, like if we were playing Dynasty, it would probably be Olave. But I think in this case it would be DJ Moore. I love Nico Collins, but I would do him for David Montgomery. Hi, Jim Furry. Peter F., good morning. Hello. Chuck Bachman, happy Saturday. Joe Burrow, or should I say Burrow versus Cardinals, and good matchup for C.J. Stroud versus Falcons. It's a lesser matchup for C.J. Stroud, a tougher matchup. The volume's been there. This is a tough call. So I'm just going to stay with the approach I've been taking, which is I don't need to play the breakout. I mean, I think it's coming. I don't know, is it coming this week? Does Joe Burrow look like himself yet? Should he not have dominated last week's matchup, which was a way easier matchup even than this week's? And he did not dominate. He was battered and struggled. So I'd like to see a little something from Burrow before I play it. I have seen something from C.J. Stroud. And what I've seen from C.J. Stroud is a ton of volume. This is not the better matchup. It's not the Falcons are much tougher at defending wide receivers for sure. So this will be a test for Stroud, but he is getting some of his offensive line back. I'm probably leaning towards Stroud in this one, just until I see what Burrow is, right? I mean, I'm not saying that your investment is blown, because I share in that investment plenty, right? Yeah, I'm playing him. Even the algorithm agrees with me, and it usually doesn't. Yeah. So again, and this is something, again, if you're just tuning in, thank you for that. I'm Bob Harris. FootballDiehards.com is the website. You can go there right now. Tons of information. Promo code DieHards, 15% discount. If you're not familiar with the radio program, we have one of those on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, also on NFL Radio tonight from 8 to 11 p.m. We'll be on both stations. 2 times simulcast. Drew Davenport will be joining us. And then on Mondays, 10 to 1. Thursdays, 10 to 1. Fridays, 10 to midnight. Plenty of time to catch the Football Diehards on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. And also here every Saturday at noon and every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Also, the DFS lineup show with Jamie Calandro, Eric Romoff. That'll be on at 9 p.m. tonight. I think Saturdays are going to be the normal night, but we'll kind of let that play out. It'll be Friday or Saturday going forward. Watch your notifications via email if you're a subscriber. Watch this channel or my Twitter feed if you're not. At Football Diehard. It's X, people. It's both. I don't know what it is. And so I'm playing C.J. Stroud. There you have it, Chuck. Andrea, need one. Ferguson versus San Francisco. Zach Ertz versus Cincinnati. Tyler Conklin versus Denver. Super tempting to play Tyler Conklin, right? I mean, this Denver has been laying down for everybody. Is this the week they course correct? I don't see why it would be. Maybe it will. I like Ferguson an awful lot, right? It's just been the targets have been there, and maybe we should have seen this coming with the way Dak Prescott talked about him. I'm going to probably play Ferguson in this game. It's a tough matchup, but I mean, just looking at the numbers. The numbers bear me out. Conklin's had, last week was good for Conklin. Let's not lie. Let's see what it ended up being. But it was also good for CJ Uzomah. So there's multiple pieces there. I'm going Ferguson, Andrea, as I talk it through and think through it. Just the volume has been there, man. I'm playing that volume, Andrea. Playing the volume. Earth has been getting volume too, right? But I'm going to play that. I'm going to play. It's kind of been a little sketchier. There have been weeks where it doesn't show up for Earth. So I'm going to play Ferguson. Let me just double check my numbers. Double check. I don't want to. Yeah, I think so. I am. There you have it. All right. That was an easy one. In a tough way. Battle of Limited. Christian Watson or Barkley. PPR flex. I'm going to probably let that play out. Watch for the injury report. I'd be tempted to go Christian Watson, assuming he is going to play. We'll know the injury report later today. Even if he's questionable, my guess is he'll play. I haven't heard anything about a setback or anything. If you want to avoid, the chances, I mean, you're going to know, obviously, about Barkley in advance, right? The timing is going to work out so that you're going to know Barkley. I don't have high expectations for Barkley or this offense in general. Even against Miami, I know they're going to need to play catch up. And I mean, we've seen 1/2 of good football from this offense. So I want to play Watson if I can. Kevin, watch the injury report. It'll be up on the website later this afternoon or out there on X for all to see. Thoughts on Josh Reynolds this weekend? Says Tony Graupensberger. I think he's the sneaky kind of play, right? I mean, it's not been like consistently productive, right? But man, he does have that built-in chemistry with Jared Goff from their time together in Los Angeles, and now with the diminished workforce around him, I think he's in a good spot. He is also questionable though, so be careful. But I think I like him a little bit this week, and I'll probably have him in some of my DFS lineups for that reason. Let me just check something here. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it's been. I think this is probably we're assuming there's going to be no Ramon-Ra St. Brown. He's listed as doubtful. Maybe we'll find out more about that today. Jamison Williams just coming back. Don't have a great feeling about that. Jahmyr Gibbs shows up as questionable on the injury report on Friday. So yeah, I think Reynolds is a play this week for me. Jim, have to play one of these three: George Pickett, Dameon Pierce, or Romeo Doubs at the flex. I'm probably playing Dameon Pierce as the starting point and then going Pickett and Doubs. Half-point PPR for Dame. Miles Sanders or Ramondre? Ooh. It's going to be Ramondre if he plays. And I don't like either choice. Better matchup for Sanders, right? He hasn't been doing a damn thing. Let me just double check. I mean, they're in the same tier. So, so I guess, my big issue is the offense for New England hasn't been working great. And I don't know if the Saints is a matchup where they suddenly get a lot better. We've seen Ezekiel Elliott getting a little work in the passing game, which is kind of a limiting factor for Stevenson. The questionable designation, a bit of a concern. I don't know if it should be a major concern. The Packers or the Patriots are very, by the book with that. They use the questionable designation like, the rule is if someone's limited for some amount of time, they're questionable. They play that to the hilt. So Sanders is off the injury report. Dame. I don't feel comfortable. Chuba Hubbard got a lot of the workload last week. Was that because of the groin and the pec, all the issues, or was it just maybe a groin trend? I'm probably sticking with Stevenson. I'm sticking with my first thought here. It's very close, Dame. Hi, Wendy. How are you? Good to see you. Would you play Nico Collins at Atlanta over Devontae Smith at LA Rams in a full PPR? I would not. But it's not an unfair question, right? I mean, I think this week, the matchup might be the determining factor for Atlanta. Nico Collins has been very good. I might still play Collins. It's that's a super tough call, honestly. I mean, Collins has had the one bad game, but other than that, I think he's still on pace for a huge. I want to say he was one of 4 receivers on pace for Calvin Johnson's receiving record. I don't think he'll get it. And this is a tougher matchup. This is a tough call. I'm playing Smith, but this is a tough call. Smith for me. And it's about the matchup. Michael Wilson or Rashee Rice, full point PPR, then Goddard or Ferguson. Big Trev. Like, Michael Wilson seems to have a legit role. Rashee Rice does too, right? But it's just been so hit or miss for these receivers. It's a great matchup, right? For the Chiefs passing attack, but I feel like we're playing whack-a-mole with these wide receivers, and we don't know which one's going to rise up. I am starting to feel maybe a little more confident that Rice is the one that I'm like most likely to roll the dice on, but I think Michael Wilson's role is a little more defined. I'm verifying a lot today with the algorithm. So in case you wonder what I'm talking about the algorithm, we have our FSP staff rankings on the website, FootballDiehards.com. Go there. It's great. Tons of stuff, not just our cheat sheet. And it also includes a flex rankings, by the way, which is very helpful. And so we set the baseline with an algorithm we've developed over the course of time. Evil Catholic does a great job with that. Then I kind of adjust it as we go through the week, and I get a better feel for matchups and situations and maybe some of the outliers. Without any adjustment, Wilson comes in a little ahead of Rashee Rice. I'm probably playing that. I agree with that. Damn it. Rashee Rice. My oversimplified analysis is the Sesame Street version of one of these things is not like the other. And Michael Wilson is like the bigger, more physical piece in an offense that has a lot of, diminutive, speedy guys, shifty guys. And here's Wilson being the more physical presence. It seems to be a good fit in that offense. Goddard over Ferguson. I'm probably still playing Goddard, but boy, the volume, just this week I'm playing Goddard, but I think you could play Ferguson any given week, right? In fact, he's probably ranked higher on the season. Let me just check on that. He might be ranked higher on the season than Goddard. He is. So definitely a reasonable question. Keep waiting for Goddard to turn into Goddard. You could, I get the question. You could play Ferguson. It's not been good at all for Goddard. I mean, I want to say he's like wide tight end 30 something. So permission granted. Ferguson's fine. So again, I'm trying to embrace the notion where the investment I made in players, I'm less interested in at this point than I am in their production. If that's the case, I'm more interested in Ferguson. I'm not loving the matchup, but like for Goddard, I mean, it seems to be funneled. The passing attack seems to be funneled right now, and they're running the ball more effectively, which seems to maybe even be a further limiting factor. JR1616, I need to cut one in Dynasty. Zach Evans, Chris Rodriguez, Kraft, the tight end. Sorry for the lane question, but it's driving me nuts. Probably be Rodriguez for me. Standard League, Laporta or Mandrews? Mandrews for me. Albert Maricoin, good morning. Oh, hi. Don Smart, would you still play Moss and Flex if Taylor is active or play Mingo instead? I'm not playing Mingo. I don't think, I mean, it's like you're almost like a Hail Mary for Mingo, it seems like at this point. We see pieces kind of moving up the ranks there. I mean, it's fair to wonder, they say Jonathan Taylor's full strength, but I mean, he hasn't played a game yet, so maybe some form of split seems reasonable. I'd probably take my chances with Moss if I had that decision to make. Two quick ones from Paul DeSantis. Half-point PPR. Trevor Lawrence versus Buffalo or C.J. Stroud versus Atlanta. Higgins or Michael Wilson in the same game. So Higgins has a fractured rib, right? Maybe he can play through it. I'm probably playing Michael Wilson. I'm playing it safe. You'll know in advance. I mean, if you feel better. Again, I want to see this passing attack break out. Maybe it will against Arizona. But you're talking about a guy with a broken rib and an offense that hasn't been working, and him having a couple of really horrible games this year. 2 really bad games, drop passes, etc. I'm going to probably go ahead and play Michael Wilson, take my chances there. Brian Larkin, PPR flex. Oh, I didn't do the quarterback. Maybe because I wanted to avoid it. I'm loving C.J. Stroud and not loving the matchup. But I think in this case, it's probably a pretty easy call for me. Yeah, I'm playing Stroud. Brian Larkin, PPR. Choose one. Jordan Addison versus KC, or Rashee Rice versus Minnesota, or Jaleel McLaughlin versus the New York Jets. So here's where I start feeling like a hammer, right? And that every nail is McLaughlin. Because I want to play McLaughlin a lot. So let me just check the algorithmic rankings. And the algorithmic rankings are with me. I'm playing McLaughlin over those two. By the way, Jordan Addison is running as basically the third wide receiver in Minnesota. I mean, I think we all have expectations for him to grow into the number 2 role, but KJ Osborne's running more routes, getting more snaps. That doesn't preclude, I mean, it's such a pass-heavy offense, it doesn't preclude Addison from making big plays and being an effective fantasy play, but it's a limiting factor for sure. And we'll hear maybe a little bit. Maybe that becomes even easier call, Brian, if they rule Javonte Williams out, but I'm doing it either way. Non-PPR, says Golf Boy, Olave versus New England Patriots or Gabe Davis versus Jacksonville. I'm not a huge advocate of Gabe Davis, even in these circumstances. Like, I mean, there's going to be big games, and there are going to be games where he doesn't show up. He's for me, he's pretty much defined himself as a boom-bust kind of play. I would probably play Olave and hope for a course correction. I think, to me, I talked a little bit about it earlier in case you just all dialed in. The Patriots secondary bashed, right? Decimated. They're dragging guys in, made a trade for J.C. Jackson, traded for him, who's not been able to crack the lineup in Los Angeles after they paid big money for him. Did have some success with the Patriots in the past, so they're hoping for, but they're losing pieces on that defense like crazy. So, and the other side of that coin, which as we discussed earlier, is Derek Carr. He's not playing well right now. It's got a hurt shoulder. It's his throwing shoulder. I don't know how much it's going to improve, how quickly it's going to improve. I feel better if it was a healthy Derek Carr, but I'm still going Olave. Would you play Raheem Mostert versus the Giants over Kyren Williams versus Philadelphia? Pretty close call. I mean, Mostert is clearly losing some of his opportunities to Devon Achane, which makes perfect sense, but there's still a lot of opportunities for both of them. I'm probably taking the piece just in the matchup for Kyren Williams is scary. Kyren Williams has been getting all the volume, right? And he does have a role in the passing attack. I might go Mostert in this one, just given the matchup. Let me see how far off the algorithm is on that, because I do think. So the algorithm likes Williams at 12 and Mostert at 16, mostly because it likes Achane at 9, so it's giving a little room between those two. I think if it ended up with Raheem Mostert being 9 and Achane 16, or somewhere in between, I would be fine. But Kyren Williams is number 12, so he's a solid play. He does have a role in the passing attack, gets all the volume. So if the concern is that maybe Mostert loses more work to Achane as we go along, then Williams is the better play, even in a bad matchup or a not ideal matchup. Jahmyr Gibbs will report as the flex, with Jahmyr Gibbs going on the injury report this week as questionable. Late in the week, I'm probably going to have an easy call here and go Laporta. Not that I don't trust McVay, but right as the deadline cover has been put on the active roster. Hey, Dame, hey, Scampers out there, my impression is Kupp is already on the active roster. Is that correct? I thought they did that. I thought they actually activated him on Wednesday. So that's my understanding. So it's already done. If they haven't, the deadline. Let me just check. My understanding is he was activated. Oh yeah. I mean, they're going to play him, so I'm sure they're going to do it. They have to do it by 4 p.m. if they haven't done it already. 4 p.m. Eastern time. Bet on him playing. JSC with Amon Ra out in 2 wide receiver league. I have Ridley, Hollywood, and Judy. By the way, I'm regretting not starting DJ Moore. You will probably not be alone in that of those who did not start DJ Moore. I probably like those guys in the order you list them. Ridley, Hollywood, Judy. Scampas. PPR, need a miracle to combat Fields. Dude, DJ Moore. Addison Osborne versus Casey or Warren versus Baltimore. Can you combine Addison and Osborne? Can you put their numbers together? I probably like the receiving end of that deal. This has been a more prolific offense, scoring offense, than what Pittsburgh's fielded. If I had to pick one, I think I'm picking Osborne. Boy, that's wide berth. I'd take Addison and hope for the big play. It's the miracle. You're looking for the miracle. Addison's more of a swing for the fence play. I don't know if Warren is that right now. I mean, he's getting good volume, but is there a swing for the fence play in that offense? That's the question. I don't think there is one. I mean, I don't think there's. I think the swing for the fence is less likely with Pittsburgh's offense. Got about 15 more minutes, people. So if you got more questions, get them in. I'll try and burn through everything that's still here. It's a long list, so I'll be diving through there. By the way, just going down to the bottom. They just activated his 21-day window. Thank you, Dame Overboard. Our Diana Rossini reporting from Scampers that JT will be on a snap count ramped up for the next month. Makes perfect sense. Dame is saying he'll play unless there's a setback. That's what I'm my understanding, and I've also heard he's been at full speed for a few weeks now. And the people who are talking bad things about him for his long-term future are even acknowledging that maybe the short-term future isn't that bad. All right, so let me get back up here where the questions are. Matt Waldman in the comments. Thank you, Matt. Let's see. All right, Scampers, it's Addison. Peter F. So Javonte Williams, Michael Thomas, or Pickens in the flex probably would be Pickens for me of that group. Not against Michael Thomas, given the matchup or given the New England issues in the secondary. Javonte Williams, it's a late afternoon kickoff, and I don't know if he's going to play. Maybe we'll get some clarity on that. But even if he does, I'm not sure he's the piece of that offense I want to play. If I play Goddard at tight end or Jake Ferguson, we kind of sorted through this one, Ron. If you want to go back and listen to the replay about 5 minutes ago, maybe you already heard it since you asked the question after I'm behind on the questions. But kind of settled on Ferguson. Aaron Jones versus Las Vegas or Madison versus KC. Probably more interested in Aaron Jones in this one. Watch the injury report today. Jones may be questionable. He's been limited with the hamstring. Sometimes they take guys off when they're limited. It depends. But I do think he'll play. If you haven't already answered this one, what are your expectations for Cup this week? My expectations are a pretty solid roll as we kind of sorted through Dame. And I asked Dame and Scampers this because I know they're in LA and they're got the ear to the local reporting as well as, and I'm obviously paying great attention to it. Here's what I think. I don't think they force him back in the lineup if they don't think he's at 100%, right? Because why would they? They haven't up to this point. They've been really cautious with him. I'm guessing the fact that he's playing means they feel pretty comfortable that whatever it is, he's pretty much ready to go. Let me just see what I've missed out on while I'm talking here. Yeah, there it is. There we have it. The Rams did do the official. I'm missing a lot of news while I'm talking, people. Hey, it's not my lane. So Cup is officially good to go. So I think it's going to be a pretty solid roll. Maybe they have to ramp him up a little bit to some degree. I mean, he hasn't played yet this year, so that'd be understandable as well. So, but am I not playing him? No, he's in every lineup where every roster where I have him, he's playing. Halfway PPR. I'm going Miles Sanders over Addison. Dame. Can we bump this an hour earlier every week to avoid the landscapers? I don't know that we can. You don't know when they're going to show up. They show up about an hour before I start, and then they sit here and wait until I start. Or if I start an hour earlier, they just start an hour earlier too. It's like they know. And it's every other week, so you get 1 week on, 1 week off. Not much I can do about it. They do the whole street. So I could tell them to go away, and they would still be here. Hi, Dominic. Paul DeSantis, would you trade Hunter Henry and Jameson Williams for George Kittle? I am very deep at wide receiver. Boy, you've had Jameson Williams for this long. Don't you want to see what he is? I know Hunter Henry has cooled off. I get it. But is George Kittle that great? I mean, have the numbers been that great? Am I missing something? Maybe I am. He's tight end 16 on the season. Nah, I'm not doing that. I want to see what I got in Jameson Williams at some point, right? I mean, Hunter Henry's still a top 10. I mean, granted, he's cooled off for sure, right? But no, I'm not doing that. Ed H, bye week woes this week, assuming Higgins Cincinnati is out, looking for a boom play at flex this week in half-point PPR. Mims versus Denver or Rice versus KC. It'd be Rice for me. So I agreed with you to wait a week on Fields and went with Wilson in my two quarterback league. That was a mistake. At least I didn't trade him, which you told me not to. Fields is a must play. Now agree. I think he, 2-game sample size. It's looking better, right? So sure. And it wasn't a mistake. I mean, you say it was a mistake. It was a mistake in hindsight. Was it a mistake in foresight? I mean, that's the point. I mean, we can all sit here and kick ourselves in the ass for decisions we made that were great decisions or we probably made the wise decision and the outcome wasn't exactly how we wanted it. But, did Wilson have a horrible game? Or he just didn't have as great a game, right? So I disagree with you on that, Dominic. I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was just the outcome wasn't what we hoped for. Fields, yeah, I'm playing Fields every week right now. I think he's worked his way in. It's been 2 solid weeks, one against a lesser defense. And I'll just say this about the Commanders, who had been playing decent defense. It looked like they were trying very hard. I think Magic Johnson was right. Would you play Zach Ertz versus Cincinnati or Tyler Higbee? I played Tyler Higbee. I played Tyler Higbee over Goddard for sure, and maybe even Ertz. It's been fun, Zach Moss. Yeah, again, I think probably he's still a playable asset this week. Sounds like there will be a bit of a ramp up, but we'll see that. We'll see what's going on there. This is obviously a tough run week, right? So not the ideal week for Taylor to come back. Not the ideal opponent to come back against. But we'll see, man. Maybe Anthony Richardson changes the dynamic enough that makes it more interesting. Congratulations to Jonathan Taylor from Matt Waldman. Andrea, Mostert versus New York Giants, Pacheco versus Minnesota. I'm probably playing Mostert in that game, but you could make an argument for Pacheco. He looked fantastic, right? Matt Waldman is a general. What are your thoughts on selling player with low pre-draft ADP for proven players who have underwhelmed but have a high pre-draft ADP? I'm for ignoring the pre-draft ADP. That would be the easy answer. I mean, let's deal with players for what they are now, as opposed to what we thought they would be. Let's not let our emotions and expectations cloud the values we get. Right? Let's get good players. Golf Boy Bob, does Buffalo being a home team in London mean the game will have Buffalo stats crews for IDP stats? I don't know that it does. I don't know that they take the stadium crew, but point well taken. Graham F. I lack a true running back one. Have Gibbs, Connor, Ramondre, and Mostert. Would it make sense to trade Kupp for Pollard or Swift? I mean, sure. Pollard, more likely, for me. I mean, you have the firepower to do it. I think that's fair. Joe Navejas. I'll say it right. I have both Stevenson and Najee, but I'm getting fed up with both of them. Would you pick up Edwards? And which one would you drop first? Gus Edwards. I wouldn't drop either of them for Gus Edwards, but if I had to drop one, it would be Najee. Happy Saturday. Thank you, Rob Black. Dell or Addison in the flex? I'm going with Dell. Hi, Jim. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate the answer, man. I appreciate you coming here to get an answer, man. That's what it's all about. I appreciate everyone coming here. This is great stuff. Try to go a little fast. Maybe don't get to all the discussion points I want to get to because I'm trying to get to all the questions, but I hope it's helpful for all of you. Again, I'm not trying to, I'm sitting here answering your questions, but I hope I'm answering broader questions. That's the goal. I have Gibbs if he's out. Reynolds is on waiver. Do you think, in this case, pick up Reynolds if Gibbs is out? Sure. I mean, I think Reynolds is a rosterable player either way. Not a necessarily weekly starter, but I think he's a reasonable play this week given those circumstances. Remy needs some quarterback advice. Anthony Richardson versus Tennessee or Jordan Love versus Las Vegas. I have a hard time not playing Anthony Richardson. I mean, he gets it done running and passing. I'm going Richardson right now. Hi, Bob, said Bob Boyko. Standard scoring, need one wide receiver, Calvin Ridley or Romeo Doubs. I'm going with Calvin Ridley. JSC, Devontae Smith over Nico Collins easily. I don't know if it's easily, but Devontae Smith over Nico Collins. I have not heard that it is a sports hernia, but it is an abdominal issue. Those tend to be that kind of thing. We'll watch out for the name Dr. Myers being thrown around. Dr. William Myers, the hernia specialist. Thank you, Riha. In a standard league, would you start Cooper Kupp versus Philadelphia, Cortland Sutton versus... I would start Cooper Kupp. Scampers, half-point PPR, Gabe Davis in London Town, Saquon versus Miami, or any Bronco running back versus Jets, McLeod. I'd play McLaughlin. Probably over Gabe Davis. I don't need to play Saquon this week. I don't feel good about it. Hi, Paul. Would you play Barkley? Only if I have to. Again, in case you missed it, Diana Rossini reporting that JT will be on a snap count ramped up over the next month. I know my friend Michael Fabiano is ignoring snap counts because every report about people being on snap counts or whatever tends to be wrong. But in this case, I think that makes perfect sense, right? I mean, he hasn't played in a game. They're ramping him up over time. They just gave him $42 million, though. I'm only going to ramp him up so much. But there will be a ramp-up period for sure. Colin O'Garo, 10-team PPR, pick 2 from Jonathan Taylor. Just got paid. Yes, he did. Pacheco, Kyron Williams, or Barkley, if active. Probably play Kyron Williams and Isaiah Pacheco. Again, Jonathan Taylor, it's a tough matchup against Tennessee, so I don't know if I need to force him in there. Thanks, Bob. Good luck on your leagues as well this weekend. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone. Thanks. That went well against DJ. Yes, that went against DJ. Good luck to everyone. Wheels up, Cup. Agree with that. So Rap Sheet must be listening. Cup will play Sunday. There we have it. By the way, bench feels for Wilson. Wilson hasn't played yet, just not expected. Oh, Zach Wilson. Oh, this week. Oh, I got you. I'm sorry. Yeah, you don't know if it's a mistake yet. It was a great Fields day, for sure. Would you drop Zach Moss for A.J. Dillon? I suppose, right? Like, you know the role's going away. Unless you had Jonathan Taylor and you need him for a handcuff, yes. I have a chance to pick up Stroud. I have both Cousins and Burrow. Would you pick them up? And which of the two would you drop? I'd probably hold on to what I have. I mean, you can play Cousins right now, Joe, and wait for Burrows to turn back into Burrows. I think he will turn back into Burrows. I just don't know when, right? That's the issue. So yeah. So I think I stand pat. I mean, I like C.J. Stroud. Love what he's doing. It's been great. I mean, I'm probably not giving him up for either of those players. I mean, the investment in Burrow, I want to keep to see if it pans out and he turns back into Joe Burrow. In the meantime, Cousins is more than keeping the boat floating. I'm going to go that direction. I mean, if you made me pick one, it would be Burrow, and I would feel horrible about it. So I'm not telling you to do that. No, I'm not telling you. But if that's what you wanted to do, that was your team, and that was your choosing between the two. I mean, if you made me, you put my finger down, and we're going to chop it off. If I didn't say, I'd be Burrow. Hi, Dempsey Blitz. Always appreciate you, Bob. Thank you. I appreciate that, Scampers. I try and get there. Thank you, Andrea, for coming. Thanks, Dominic. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dame. Appreciate all of you, John. All right, everybody. That's it on the questions. Again, if you have more questions and you something else comes to mind, watch the website. New information will be going up, including an article momentarily about Jonathan Taylor's new deal and about Cooper Kupp being officially activated. Also, tons of content there from our regular assortment of contributors: Jamie Calandro, Justin Lanero, myself, Gary Davenport, John Laub, Matthew Sharon, Evan Tarciano, Drew Phelps, Casey Joyner, Brad Cruz, the whole crew, Joe Colana, Reginald James. Tons of good content up there. Check out the Football Diehards tonight on the radio, 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. It's on NFL Radio and the Fantasy Channel, so you can't hardly miss it. But if you're calling in, you have to call in on NFL Radio. So just remember, it's not the usual number. Tomorrow I'll be on with Jeff Mans from 11 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the pregame show on SiriusXM. We'll have a lot of late-breaking information there, lots of good plays and not plays. I'll be back here next Wednesday with a guest on the hot seat. I'll be back again next Saturday. Tonight, 9 p.m., Jamie and Eric on the DFS lineup show. We'll see you all next week. Love you all. Goodbye.